Welcome back to the Jagged Edge. We finally have a guest back. First of all,
Very special
Javal,
guest.
how are you doing today?
Well, I was doing great, and then I had to relive the trauma that the second half trauma. But I'm really excited just to talk about the game experiences, and my cat's just in the background, just doing kitten things. But I'm doing good, man. Just, I really, even though the game result, we'll get into that itself. The game experience was pretty fun. Saw a lot of Jags fans. Shout out Mike. I ran into him on the way to the stadium. So I didn't get to see a ton of them because I got there kind of like for tailgating. But I saw a lot of Jags fans. It was cool to just to. I've always driven by the Dolphin Stadium a lot, but actually being in Hard Rock Stadium, it was definitely a cool experience. Another one to check off the stadium list. So that was great.
All right, and then our special guest today, another returning guest, Gus. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, boys. Good to see you guys again. Thanks for having me back. I was not at the game, so fortunately I didn't have a traumatizing experience like Javal might have had. But yeah, it was a tough second half meltdown for sure.
Yeah,
It
as
feels
our
weird
as
just
our
hearing
local
Gus's
South Florida
voice.
Jaguar fan, the Javal had to be, he's obliged to be
Yeah,
there.
I had to. It worked out because literally the day before was my brother-in-law's birthday, and he's a Dolphins fan, so he came down for that game. And then the day after was my mom's birthday.
Mm.
So the schedules aligned, so it was okay, well, I'm already gonna come down for birthdays and Jags play in Miami this weekend. So it was literally perfect. So that was cool with
Oh,
me.
it's like fine. If I have to go to an away game, I'll go.
Yeah. It just this and it also was Zach Goodall's birthday, the same day as my mom's birthday. So he was also in Miami for a little bit. But yeah, I know so many September birthdays this month, dude. It's driving me off the wall. But and speaking of, today's Devin Duvernay's birthday. So
Oh, there
Shout
you
out
go.
Devin. Third yard, it was a 3 yard run to get a 15-yard penalty off of it, so we take that.
but it's definitely weird. I'm so used to hearing Gus's or just seeing Gus either or the pod with John or just Duval dive that just talking to Gus live. It feels weird, but I'm just glad. I'm glad to have you on as always. One of the best Jags ball knowers out there. So
Appreciate it.
tell the people where they can
100%.
find you, Gus. If they don't already know, which they should know. But
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of cool, new, exciting things at 1010XL. Just started a new YouTube show, kind of, which is also available in podcast form called Duval Rundown. And then I'm also still managing Big Cat Country, but you can find all my stuff. I'm doing some freelance stuff for SB Nation too, which has been fun. You can
Fantasy
find,
football stuff is pretty nice. I'll give you a shout out
yeah,
for that.
that's kind of how I like started off getting into writing, honestly. That's what, yeah, led me into the industry basically. But I hadn't done it in a while, so I was excited to get back to it. Josh Jacobs was my guy this year, and so he didn't get off to a super hot start, but I still got faith.
I wanted
Uh,
him
You
so bad.
say that, and you still beat me in fantasy last week. You didn't do well. Anthony Richardson and Cooper Cup really
yeah,
killed
that
me.
was nice. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with all my Cooper Cup shares. But yeah, you can follow all my work on my Twitter/X at Gus_Logue.
Absolutely. So, Javal, I'm sorry that you have to relive this, but I was one that was actually working during Sunday. So people that YouTube, especially you, Javal, that had to see all 60 minutes, what are your final takeaways from that loss on Sunday? I hate that you had to be right. We did predictions. Javal was the doubter, I was the believer, and I looked right for like 45
But
minutes of the
they had
game.
us going until
Yeah.
ETN fumbled, and then okay, so overall, I want to start with just some not even positive, just some kind of observations because when you watch a game live, it's a very different experience than watching it on TV. You really get to see a lot of the players both on the sidelines. And I had an end zone view. So I literally, for my view, I saw ETN run the first touchdown and I was literally right by the goal line. So that's ever since the Chargers game, that's my preferred view is just the end zone view. It's because I get to see the backs of the players, their names, which in this instance was pretty helpful because definitely one thing I noticed is that especially on defense, Ryan Nielsen rotated a lot of players in. It was just so funny. I literally remember when the Dolphins are about to it was the Dolphins scoring drive, the first one in the first half. And then I just saw the goal line. I just saw Yasir Abdullah getting goal line snaps, and I had to wipe my eyes for a second because there was a lot of players, which I don't know if it was just because Ryan Nielsen rotates his guys a lot, or if it was, first game of the season, guys haven't got the full legs yet, and it's in a very hot place, so they want to keep them hydrated. It could be a little bit of both. That's my just theory. But I definitely saw a lot of players rotate, especially in the secondary. I remember even early on, I saw Jarian Jones. He was playing outside corner, which a lot of people were saying, oh, he's probably going to be a slot. And I guess with the Tyson injury, it's kind of good to see. It's good that we saw a lot of players play, especially in the secondary, which we'll get to Tyson later. But that was pretty interesting. I mean, on offense, they rotated the receivers too a little bit because I was trying to see when were they going to throw to Brian Thomas again, and then sometimes I didn't see him, but it was both Kirk and Parker in the slot, which I'm glad that I wasn't sure if it was just because of the heat and everything, but I definitely think it is interesting to see the rotations of players where they line up and such, especially for the corners, are they playing more outside? Who's playing the slot? So that was really interesting, just seeing how they're able to get a lot of players. Because yeah, I mean, yeah, even players who I'd not think were gonna play roles outside of special teams play. I mean, I saw some Terrell Edmonds snaps, or they would take Cisco out and I put Terrell Edmonds in, and it wasn't a disaster too. It wasn't. I'm not even complaining. It was just a really interesting thing to note because I would just see some numbers and I had to really ask myself, oh, who are these numbers again? Oh yeah, that's who the numbers is. So that was pretty cool. And then just the game experience as a whole was, well, the first drive for the Jacks, the first play literally being a sack by Calais. I was not that was not very fun to watch. But yeah, most of the first half, man, you really saw, and shout out to Gus too. I remember he was saying a lot of how the Jags offense would look, a lot of under center play action. And then I mentioned a point that you brought up with when you talked about on your pods the other day when the Jags, they would probably be running a lot more outside zone because last year they ran a lot of different concepts and they were literally jack of all trades and terrible at all of them. So I thought watching them try to focus more specifically on outside zone and they had some success at it. It was pretty cool because I literally even remember Brett Coleman was saying for 2 years now that both Tank Bigsby and ETN are suited for outside zone and the Jags just don't do that enough. That was kind of his complaint. So I think seeing the 24 offense, what it could be in person was really cool. I saw under center, some outside zone. I saw play action shots. We saw credit to you once again, Gabe Davis over the middle, not just a go route merchant, but we really got to saw Gabe, which is pretty cool. So it was just frustrating because you literally saw how the offense works and how it operates just for them to not do that the rest of this most of the second half. But it's exciting because okay, if they stick with what works and tweak it from there, we got to really saw how Gabe and Brian Thomas could open up the field both deep and intermediate. Okay, I'm excited for what can be. It's just will they be consistent about it? That's really the main problem. So I'm trying to hold back so I don't just trauma dump, but it was still there was some good with the bad and just definitely very curious because it's the first game, so you're always looking for the new wrinkles and okay, what do they do differently from last year? How do they involve the offense? How does the defense look different? So there's a lot of cool takeaways, but I'll save the trauma dumping for a little bit later.
I don't disagree with Brett that Tank and Travis are probably better suited for outside zone. And we definitely saw a little bit of that from the Jags, but I was surprised by like how diverse the run game still was, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like I mean, at one point I thought that they were maybe too diverse for their own good because it was just kind of like too much to handle and you want to kind of simplify things sometimes, especially with the way that last year went. But they ran just like a ton of stuff between zone and power, lots of different polars. And so that was one thing I kind of thought was coming with just the fact that all five offensive starters can be used in space, that they could get pretty wonky with it. But I thought we saw a lot of good things. And honestly, I was talking with Campo about this on Tuesday, but I feel like both backs, even though especially Tank had a good performance and Travis still scored, I thought they left a decent amount of yards on the field in terms of just like playing a little bit too fast and like making decisions a little bit too quickly. But they could both be a little bit more patient and have a little bit better eyes. And the run game could be even better. But it'll be an interesting test this week against the Browns because I think their defensive line and just run defense in general is leaps and bounds better than the Dolphins.
Definitely. And with that tougher defense coming up, especially Miles Garrett, one of the best players in football, period. We will probably see more of the passing game being utilized because you know how good their front seven is. How much more of a balance does Jacksonville need to get Trevor Lawrence more involved? Because somebody didn't watch the game, seeing 7 pass attempts, 9 with the 2 sacks, that is not encouraging at all going into a team where you know you can beat a dogfight if you don't put enough points on the board early and often.
Yeah, I think the Jags just even though they do have a franchise quarterback in Lawrence, they want to be able to close games by running the rock and kind of establishing their physicality, which is fair even with the franchise quarterback. But then it's another thing when like you try to take that just pound the ball mentality and it falls flat and doesn't work. And then you're head left scratching your head like why didn't 16 throw more passes? And so I think they're like I don't know, decision making or like thought process behind Trevor not throwing a lot in the fourth quarter kind of made sense, but then obviously the results didn't really match out as well as the process, and so that calls for backlash or will result in backlash, which I feel like offensive coaches have gotten, even though really I'll blame the game more on players for not executing for all 4 quarters.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one thing where I think even if Travis fumbled, if Kirk catches those two balls, I think they probably at least get a field goal out of it, which just alone makes a different game. So, in terms of execution versus the play calling, which one I think they both play a role. I mean, obviously, with players, you're upset at them executing because the coaches put them in position to succeed. I mean, on that drive where Travis fumbled. I mean, they started from close to their own end zone and marched all the way down the field pretty effortlessly, except for the fumble. That was good coaching and play calling. The times that, especially on the first Kirk drop, I had Kirk on my fantasy team, so I think that's what jinxed him because I literally don't know. I remember just watching him and he just turned around and just looked at the ball and just dropped it, and
He lost it in
I
the sun, maybe.
I I I mean, kind of. I think it was closer to the shade, so I think that might have played. I think that might have been the second time Kirk just has a bad drop from the sun, which I remember last year in Houston, he was wide open, and then the one sliver of sunlight was where he threw the ball, and I think that's what caused him to drop it. But
Mm-hmm.
just both between the Kirk drops and ETN, I mean, I don't think the execution could have been better. I guess to me, the biggest issue is I understand you want to try to be more physical. And the run game, to their credit, was working in the first half. Not every single play consistently. They're blowing people off the ball. There's in the NFL, you're gonna have even the best teams are gonna have some runs that are get blown up behind line of scrimmage. It just happens. So I understand that why they wanted to go for more of the running game. I guess to me, they just didn't try to mix anything else because that's a very clear, okay, run the ball. They're going to try to sell out play action over the top. That was to me my biggest complaint is that they didn't try to do any play action. So when they did pass the ball, it was just behind the sticks. If they even try to do a first down play action and then at least even if it doesn't work, at least the offense or the defense isn't just selling out for the run solely. That was to me the biggest concern is that they played way too one dimensional without any switching it up. So I just wish if you're gonna try to run the ball more, you can still let Trevor, even if he doesn't throw the ball that much, let him throw the ball deep down the field so you don't have to try to just run the clock out all the time. So that way, even if you stall out, you're closer to midfield, you can maybe get a field goal in, or you can pin him back deeper than punting from closer to your own end zone. So that was my biggest complaint was even if they want to try to be more conservative, which I understand, you can still sprinkle in a play action considering it was working so well, and the Dolphins are trying to sell out to stop the run. So, but I'm not an offensive coordinator.
Yes, but speaking of the offense, we all have to talk about Brian Thomas Jr.'s first game because, that was basically the X factor of the offense going into the year. After seeing a lot of the production that he did week one, even causing a pass interference for a former Jaguar and highest paid quarterback in the NFL, Jalen Ramsey, how encouraging is it to have, a receiver that looks really, really good off the gate?
He looks crazy good. I mean, I don't think he's like the type of receiver yet that's like dictating matchups and kind of like drawing extra coverage and we're like truly making a difference at that level, like true alpha receivers. But he's like on his way there, honestly. Just the growth that we've seen from him in the last 6 months alone has been pretty outrageous. And so I think compared to the expectations on draft night, where like, yeah, sure, it's a good landing spot for him because he's going with Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence. But like, since they have so many other playmakers and pass catchers, they were going to be able to bring him in slowly. And he is a 21-year-old rookie who essentially just ran go routes and hitches in LSU's offense. But again, like the growth in just a short amount of time has been really encouraging. And so, like, compared to where my expectations were on draft night, like BTJ is way more effective and productive already than I thought he was going to be.
How was it in
I
person, Javal?
I seeing everything in person, I'm this close to saying he's already the best receiver on the team. It's crazy, man. And I'm not just saying that. Even if Kirk makes those catches, then Kirk probably would have still had a pretty good game. I just think, especially in terms of the expectations, because to me, the biggest things that I saw was the confidence he had. I mean, Jalen Ramsey was lining up versus Brian Thomas, and Brian Thomas did not back down. Just even though he didn't complete the pass, he still drew a PI versus Ramsey. And I rewatched the route running. BT had him beat. So if Brian Thomas is confident against one of the best corners in the NFL from day one, then watch out. I'm telling you this. And then I think even more so than him drawing down the field, the two most impressive plays were in the 2 minute drill to get the field goal, which also shout out to Cam Little, which, hey, he might have something. But I remember on the 2 minute drive, BTJ was running, and then he caught a little bit of I think probably to me, this showed off that he can be a complete receiver. He ran a route in the middle. He had made a nice comeback and then caught a low pass, adjusted really well. It wasn't just, I'm a go route merchant. I'm gonna catch wide open passes. It's I can make complex breaks as a route runner and then adjust the football. Because it was a bit of a low throw by Trevor, so he had to really get his hands underneath the ball so he didn't drop it. And it was not it wasn't a 50-yard catch, but to me that really shows his development is already there, because that's a play you didn't really see at LSU him make that much. And on top of that, the touchdown he had, that toe drag. After I just think back to the Chiefs game last year and how nobody could toe drag, and then just as a rookie, your first game, he made it look almost effortless, because he could have. I was worried at the end, oh, did he get his feet in bounds? I saw the replay, made it look easy, man. So I'm not just trying to overreact because Kirk had those two drops, but just the way he moves on top of being a better route runner, being able to, fight for the ball, being able to track the ball low, high, and then also being able to keep his toes in bounds. That to me, he's showing he's more than a deep threat and he can be a complete receiver. And if you have a confident, complete receiver that's 6'3" and runs a 4.33, teamed up with Trevor Lawrence, yeah, I'm kicking myself for not picking up in fantasy.
I think that you nailed it on the head where like just the completeness of his game is the most impressive part from week one, where like he was effective at all three levels of the field. And so you would have hoped that from week one he would be effective at least as a deep threat to open up the rest of the offense for other guys. But if he can be effective again, short, intermediate, and deep, then
He will be the offense.
yeah, then that would be incredible. And so it'll be a tough test again for him this week too, considering the Browns have a good cornerback trio in Denzel Ward, Martin Emerson, and Greg Newsome. But I mean, I'm hoping that Trevor Lawrence gives him a couple opportunities, kind of like prove himself in one-on-one opportunities.
And my next point was to be that I know ETN fumbled in the red zone. I know Evan Ingram was a non-factor, and I know Christian Kirk had two very crucial jobs in that game. But you don't expect all of those three to play as not to their standard every single week. 1 week it will be Kirk getting his 100-yard game as he usually does with Trevor Lawrence. You'll know Evan Ingram will get that 50-50 like big catch down the field that could lead to a victory. And ETN is due for a big run every so often. So just like trying to move on from week one, getting away from a very hot, hostile environment in Miami, and then just trying to rebound at home in your home opener when, you really want to, rebound with a win. That's a lot on the Jags offense to kind of just get it done.
I liked Kirk to rebound this week, honestly. Just because I think like Javal, like I don't disagree with him in terms of like Brian Thomas Jr. is quickly becoming almost the best receiver on the team just based on the way that he looks. But like as of now, in week 2 of Brian's rookie season, I still think Kirk is the best pass catcher on the team, and I think he's gonna like come back with a vengeance or whatever and play angry in front of the home crowd on Sunday and have pretty good performance.
He's either going to have another terrible game or he's going to have a career high. And I just because it's Jags and I don't know with Trevor Bank. We never even talked about the new
Yeah,
stadium.
I was feeling really good about like the Jags beating the Browns this weekend until that happened, and now I'm like, well, that just seems like
They're either winning by 35. They either went from winning by 35 to winning by 45, or they're going to have Deshaun turn back the clock and he's going to throw 4 touchdowns. Which we're all hoping it's because it's Jags. You can never really expect. You never know what to expect with this team, unfortunately.
well, that's the biggest thing going for the Jags this weekend is just like despite this being a Jaguars podcast and all the talk that we can have about the Jaguars, like the biggest X factor or whatever is Deshaun Watson in this game, just because he looks like a shell of a shell.
Yeah.
You're
Thank you
telling me
for
the
you're reading
quarterback
my
that looks
mind.
terrible all of last year still looks terrible, and that the person who is
And all the
terrible off the field is having bad things happen to him on the field? Who could have seen this coming?
Hey man, I mean, Gus just read my mind. Like it was just basically my next topic. I mean, if the offense can win the game, then the defense better. You like Holy held one of the best, most high octane offenses in the NFL to 20 points. And then you had one of the worst performing quarterbacks in week 1 come into your home stadium. You better make that man's life hell from opening snap all the way to the final whistle. This is the time where defense can finally cause a turnover and just like get into Deshaun Watson's head early because he has not looked like his former self in Houston ever since he got into Cleveland.
They also don't have David and Juco for this game. They don't have Nick Chubb.
Yeah, they don't have their 2 tackles. I
Yeah,
know Jedrick Wills is out. I don't know about the other tackle. I think Jack
yeah. The other
Conklin.
one had a limited practice Wednesday, so he could come back. But even if he comes back, he'll not be
Oh,
100%.
look at that. Trayvon Walker, Josh Hines Allen. Like, all right, time to test you. Or
Not
Eric
even. I mean,
Armstead.
just arms. I just first play of the game, just send Miles Cole and just roughing the. I don't care if it's roughing the passer. Just send. Well, the thing is, okay. Actually, no. I would need him to be healthy until the fourth quarter if it's a blowout, and then just right before. So I need the last play of the game. Just send Miles Cole at him. Just spear him. I don't care, but I don't want him to be early so that he could stay in the game and play bad. So
I love all the Browns offensive unders this week. Watson under passing yards, Jerome Ford under rushing yards, team total under, over for sacks for the Jaguars. Give it all to me.
but
Dang, that
we didn't
confident
even
is crazy. No,
we didn't
I
even
get
really
it. It
talk
should.
about the defense though, which I guess we can kind of tie it in because even though there was a couple opportunities missed by the Dolphins, I remember there was one play Tyreek was open and it probably would have been a 50-yard touchdown. There was one play
Yeah.
that Tua just missed him. And then on the after the worst 4th-and-1 attempt I've ever seen, the Dolphins missed a chip shot. Not a chip shot, but they missed a
40-yard
under
field
40
goal.
yard field goal. So it could have been 30 points, but even holding the Dolphins to 30 points is considering that's not bad. So the fact that it was still 20 and they were playing a lot of cover one, they were playing a lot of single high man
A lot of
coverages.
man
And they were
coverage.
and they were rotating corners too. It wasn't just, Tyson and Darby just playing one on one. They were getting Jarian Jones man coverage reps, they're getting Buster Brown coverage reps. So in terms of what we'll see from this defense, the fact that they're able to limit Miami gave them a lot of problems, especially with the running game. Because to me, getting beat Miami through the air, that's going to happen when you just have so much speed. But they pretty much shut down Miami's running game. I mean, granted, they didn't do a ton of fancy motions, but Miami, for the most part, just dinked and dunked and then had 2 big plays. So the
For
fact
sure.
that Nielsen he was able to not only rotate corners in, but they didn't immediately break is pretty impressive. Shout out Chris Richard as well for doing the DB coaching because it's not easy, especially when you're going up against 2 of the fastest players in the NFL. So if not 2 fastest, honestly, probably 3 with HN, but well, I guess technically it's Xavier Worthy now, but 3
Yeah.
of the fastest players in the NFL, and they really didn't. torch him. I mean, obviously there was the Tyreek play, which, Tyreek is going to get his regardless. And not gonna lie, the celebration was actually hilarious though. So
Yeah.
I'm not even too upset because A, he was on my fantasy team and the celebration was amazing.
Hmm.
But, Nielsen, I think he did a pretty good job. So it's just, obviously we'll have to see how it continues. But to me, the vibes I'm getting from this game is just very reminiscent of 2 years ago when the Jags lost to Washington, a game that they should have won. They could have just, it was for a different reason because the defense was definitely a little more disappointing, but and then they came back week 2 and just shut out the Colts. So I'm hoping it's another this same result. I I could see this definitely being a gritty game. I guess to me the biggest X factor is just how aggressive are the Jags going to be on offense because we saw the Browns, yeah, their defense can be very good, but they usually play worse on the road than home. And the defense gave up. Well, the Cowboys had a special teams touchdown, but the Cowboys, they didn't have to work too hard to score on the Browns. So if the Jags can just put some pressure and get out to a quick start, and then you really have to make the Browns throw a lot more, then okay, you're probably gonna be sitting pretty. So that to me is just the biggest offense. But hats off to Nielsen. He did a great job. And if he continues the way he does, then we might have something at DC.
Yeah, the two biggest plays that the Jags lit up were just like deep crossing routes, one by Hill and one by Waddle, where Tua had like enough time to just sit there and then wait for them and just layer a rainbow deep downfield. And they were both like because of mistakes by Jacksonville safeties. Like one was because Antonio Johnson like kind of picked up the wrong man, and then the
Yeah.
other was Cisco took a bad angle. And so like if you can just like clean up that stuff and like prevent explosive plays, like as long as Jerry Judy or Amari Cooper doesn't have like and not even an explosive play, but specifically a broken play, then I think the Browns are going to be not very productive on offense. Like honestly, I think they're going to score 3 points.
I'm so scared now. I can believe you, but because it's the Jags, I'm also prepared. Everything logically is saying that it's going to be an ugly game. And then the part of me just saying, well, this is also the Jacksonville Jaguars, so sometimes logic gets thrown out the window, unfortunately. But because
As
logic's
long
thrown out the window, they could also just have the best defensive game of all time. They could have 2 pick sixes. I don't.
Yeah, you're honestly not wrong because like the thing is, if the Jaguars don't shoot themselves in the foot, they should win this game by 3+ touchdowns. But the Jags have been shooting themselves in the foot the majority of games, like I mean ever, but including in Doug Peterson's
Yeah.
tenure. So the Jags are bad until they aren't. It's goofy but fair.
Yeah, but I'll take the silver lining to where, the last time the Jaguars went 0-1, we won a division and won a playoff game. So, caveat, and then you also got a home game. And it's not against the Colts, like, we usually always come out on top, but a Cleveland Browns team who has a less than desirable quarterback, and just got to go out and win in front of your home fans, home opener. Players are excited. You get a second week of Eric Armstead. I was listening to his podcast a little bit too before we hopped on the call today. How he even said he was winded because of that, South Florida heat, just to get another week under his belt. You just hope that this is a game for the front seven to dominate early and often at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely
mean,
need some Josh Hines Allen and company. Go
I
ahead, Luke.
feel even that they didn't play. I know the pressure numbers were pretty low or pressure rate, but I found a lot of that was just due to the Dolphins just getting the ball out really quickly due to the screens. And I mean, they didn't have a fully dominant game, but I mean, the defensive line had a, I'd say a solid day. And obviously, Miami's offensive line isn't good, but the fact that Mike Daniel was trying to scheme around it and they still were able to create some havoc. I mean, shout out Trevon on the one play where he just straight up bullied Austin Jackson and then just I think it was a 3rd and 16 and went to a 4th and 30. So if they can just do more of that and really start to take over versus a depleted defensive line, this could be hopefully it's a breakout game and this will, it could get to be Saxville 2.0 because I mean, Browns offensive line, when healthy, they're pretty good, but they've been just banged up a lot, and the quarterback really hasn't been helping them. So hopefully this can be a game where either for just Josh, Trevon, I mean, whoever it is, I don't care if it's It could be a Sir Abdullah for all. Maybe it's Miles Cole, who knows? But just a game where they just really just put a stamp on this game and just take over and just say you're already not a good quarterback. We're not going to give you the time to even try to be a good quarterback. And then force some turnovers, get a strip sack. So I'm excited, but at the same time, I'm just because the Jags, I have to be a little bit I have to be prepared for the worst at all times.
That's quite a way to live.
I know this will be the first game that I will actually be able to attend to the home game because I actually got work off for that one. Even during the preseason, I haven't had time to just sit down and watch a Jags game completely. It'll be the first time this year, for better or for worse, so we'll find out.
Nice.
For
Let's hear
sure.
some score predictions. How many points do you guys think the Browns are scoring?
Oh, the Browns themselves? I think they're gonna have points in garbage time, so I'll say 20, but that's because the Jaguars dominate early and
Okay.
often.
I like it.
I'm gonna say 24-14 Jags and the 14. I want to say, yeah, considering it's the Jags, I don't think they're going to fully dominate, but I think the defense will set them up with a couple of shorter fields. And then it's just one of those things where I know the blow potential is there, but because I'm just trying to be modest, I don't want to buy into it. So I think 24-14, Trevor has 2 touchdowns. I don't see this being a huge running game. I mean, I think they're going to try still. Hopefully it's effective, but we'll really see how it looks. But 24-14, Browns get a garbage time touchdown. Yeah, hopefully it's even less than that and they get 0 points and Deshaun throws 3 pick sixes, but
I'm gonna go 27-3, and
oh.
the Jags get a defensive
Ooh.
touchdown, and the Browns get a garbage time field goal. All
Who
right.
who gets the defensive touchdown?
Ooh, that's a good question. Darnell Savage. That's my pick.
Ah,
He played really
I've
well last week too, I've heard, so
I
it's
like
on
what
point.
the whole offseason too. He was in a red penny a lot, but even
Yeah.
still, I don't think he's going to be turned into a Pro Bowler or anything like that. But I think he's a good player in the right system now. So
well, before we get out of here, I did have one question is what did you think about the tank game? Because I just remember watching that game and even just live, I was just so confused because just some of the runs he was breaking off, I was just watching there and just there's no way this is even remotely close to the same player that was last. And obviously I know second year jump, so he's going. I expected him to just not be a turnover machine, but he looked really good, and I was just, huh? He saved their asses a couple times when they were backed up.
well, I feel like Shipley kind of got his handed to him last year because he said Tank looks good in the offseason, which he did. But then obviously it was a
Yeah, the
bad,
fumble started.
yeah, just like turnovers every other touch. But yeah, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say I'm surprised because now both of the last two off seasons and training camps, he's look at an effective runner. But yeah, I certainly wasn't expecting that, and I think it's all things that like are replicable. And like even though I don't think the Dolphins run defense is all that great, and he's definitely going to have tougher sledding this week against the Browns, like I expect him to continue earning touches and doing well for the most part. But the other thing is that he also lets yards on the field, in my opinion, and Travis did too. But
Hmm.
like, there's more room to grow too, so that's actually exciting.
For sure. I didn't get a Jaguar score. I'm entranced with the whole Josh Hines Allen jersey swap that's happening next week, which I signed up for, which is a pretty cool thing for Josh to do for, all the Jaguar fans that, hey, you know what, if you're online, say, oh yeah, I'm gonna give you a free jersey for having my old one. It's pretty dope. I said 41-20 Jaguars. I didn't put my Jaguar point, but I think we
Nice.
just go up firing in all cylinders, and I guess a defensive touchdown would be cool too. But this is the one where it was like, all right, fuck you guys. Trevor's gonna throw the ball and he'll get a couple deep bombs. I know it's a really good Browns defense, but I just feel this is the week where they can just fire on all cylinders. It's the
Mm-hmm.
time to do it.
I mean, the Browns defense was good last year, but they also broke a few times. I mean, even just how the playoff game, I mean, with all 45, they're definitely worse on the road too. And plus, there's a lot of factors against the Browns defense to where on paper, I think they can start off pretty hot, but it's just, if the weather's going to be unbearable on top of the offense not giving much support, maybe the second half. I think my guess is it could be a closer game in the first half. And then just if the defense keeps just bullying Cleveland's offense, then Cleveland's defense is going to be okay. Well, it's hot. We're on the field a lot. They're just going to get exhausted. And that's how I see the blow up potential happening. I mean, if Cleveland's able to convert a few drives and even if they don't score a lot, just not just be 3-and-out immediately and they can move the ball, then I think the defense might be able to show up a little bit more. But if the game does break open, my guess is just because Browns are just 3-and-out or turnover every other drive, and then the defense is just gas, which it's not, it's already not good to have a quarterback put you in a great spot with, 3-and-outs and such, but playing in a Florida heat when you're used to Ohio weather, it's a lot different.
I
Yeah.
also I just can't pick Deshaun Watson to beat us. I also can't.
I'm changing my take though. It's not going to be a Darno Savage pick six. It's going to be a Josh Hines Allen strip sack, and then Savage is going to scoop and score.
Hey, I'll take that too.
I'll take whatever.
Right bet on that.
All
Darno
right.
times 4.
We'll leave with one little segment. We're gonna do a little quick fire because I know we're taking a lot of Gus's time. So thank you again for joining us. But we're gonna do some rapid fire picks for the week. Last week Javal and I went 1-1, and Javal went 11-5, and I went 8-8. So Javal's in a really hot start. So we'll just see how much ball knowledge we will. So as our first weekly guest picks, I'm gonna start off with Chu. Thursday night football today between Buffalo and Miami at Hard Rock. Who do you got, Gus?
Are we doing straight up or
Yeah, just
spread?
straight up. We can't do spreads. I already in the league with Pint and Jack, and I only had 7 out of like 16. Right, too. So it's not a good pick week for me, week
I
one.
forgot to check to see how I did. Yeah, spreads are tough, but spread or not, I'm going to go with the Dolphins tonight. I think I'm a little concerned about the Bills offense. Like they'll be fine, but I just don't think they're going to be as good as they have been in years past.
Fins
Javal.
up.
Fins up. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't. I hate you going Dolphins 2 weeks in a row after last week you cunt. But
I'm not
yeah,
picking it just because of the Jags. I just think, I mean, Bills will still be able to put points up,
yeah.
but I think just the Dolphins usually are better at beating the Bills in early, and then the Bills are beating them late. So just
Yeah.
based off that trend, I'm picking the Dolphins to win.
Easy degeneracy money tonight is Josh Allen and Tyreek Hill anytime touchdown. I feel like just
They're
Josh Allen will barrel for a touchdown and Tyreek Hill will get open deep again. It's just that's the circle of life. All right, second game of the week. Niners Vikings at Minnesota. Who do you got, Gus?
Niners.
Javal.
I think this is where I'm going to deviate a little. I want to deviate and pick the Vikings, but I know the 49ers are probably going to win. But at the same time, the NFL's crazy, so I'll pick the Vikings.
Wow.
Ooh, I mean, Minnesota beat them last week in Monday Night Football. If Sam Darnold can beat the Niners defense, by all means, please do it. But I just gotta see it. I'm gonna go Niners just because, like, I need to see Sam Darnold do this against a real NFL defense.
I mean,
Last
yeah,
week did not count. Last
that's
week
fair.
does not count.
I'm a
All
Kevin
right.
O'Connor believer. What can I say?
I don't blame you. He's a good coach. Next game, Tampa Bay, Detroit, divisional round matchup, a rematch from last year in Detroit again.
Yeah,
Gus.
I like Detroit in this one. Tampa Bay looked pretty good in week 1, but they were also playing the Commanders. I think the Lions win over the Rams was a lot more convincing, and I just think the Lions are a much better team, so I'll go with them.
Javal.
I'll pick the Lions. I'm just kind of mad. If I didn't pick the Vikings, I probably would have picked the Bucks to win because I think they're probably pretty close. I mean, I think I kind of may have underrated Tampa. Granted, it was versus Washington, so I think both of the teams are not that far apart. Just the Lions have a better offensive line, but I could see this being another little mini shootout. So I think it'll be won by a field goal.
Yeah,
Jake Bates 55-yard field goal.
it's crazy you say that because the spread for this game is 7.5 from Vegas, and I think it'll be closer than that 7.5. But I also have Detroit winning just because that's a tough environment to go to, and you just got to test Tampa because they had a pretty young Commanders team in there last week. Next one up, another team that got blown out last week. The Carolina Panthers are now hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. Who do you got, Gus?
Easily the Chargers. I'm not I mean, Jim Harbaugh is objectively a good coach, but I'm not sold on the Chargers like being good immediately.
Mhm.
But I'm very sold on the Panthers being the worst team in the league. They're horrific. They disgust me.
Oh man,
I
that's
feel so bad for Bryce.
yep. So I guess just as Chargers off the board, that's just all we gotta
Consensus.
say. Consensus Chargers is crazy. All right. Speaking of the two NFC East teams that don't matter right now, we got the Giants at the Commanders in the
Oh my
NFC least
goodness.
matchup. Guys, Gus, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, I wish this game just like didn't exist. Like, do we
The
have to?
first NFL game on Tubi this season, and it's in week 2 in the
Just
NFL.
I guess I'll
how do we
go.
have a tank bowl so early on?
I'll take the commies.
The commies. Javal?
I Giants offense versus Washington defense is the most movable force versus stoppable object I've ever. I'm just gonna go with the Commanders because Jaden Daniels can run. So
My wife's a Giants fan. I feel obligated to just root for the Giants just to like torture myself every single week. I
I
know
mean,
the
you already
Commanders. I
watched the
just want to.
Jags.
I already yeah, but like I feel obligated to go with the Giants. I have a bad feeling about Jaden Daniels like throwing the game away for some reason. I know he can run around. It'll probably be better than Daniel Jones, but I'll take experience over rookie right now. I just
He'll
have a
take
weird feeling about this one.
he'll take the experience interception over the rookie interception.
Absolutely. All right. This is actually a pretty interesting matchup out of the 1 o'clock slates. We got the Jets and the Titans and Nissan Stadium, I think it's still called. So, Gus, who you got?
I like the Jets here. I thought they were no match for the Niners on Monday night, but I feel like they'll rebound against a weaker opponent, even if they're away from MetLife 2 weeks in a row. Just like I can't get the Will Levis interception out of
I
my
know.
head.
It
Yeah,
was so hilarious. The cover surrender mid pick six is crazy
yeah.
behavior from Mayo Boy.
I can't bet on that guy's team after last week.
Blowing a 17-point lead was crazier than us blowing a 14-point one. And even then, we kept it close to the final snap. That was just a compilation of unbelievable feat from the Titans last week. Jabal, is this another consensus from all of us?
Honestly, I'm I think it's going to be a close. I think times are going to be in a lot of close games. So I'm tempted. I just think the solid defense is going to make Will Levis's life. If there's any, I just felt like it's a bad matchup for him just because Sala, he's going to just create havoc. He's going to create pressure, and I think Levis is going to be able to make some good, but then that's the thing. He just needs one or two bad plays, and it can be really just capitalized. So Michael Carter pick six. No, not even a pick, just a pick, not a pick six.
All right, consensus Jets. Got it. All right. I think we're gonna be all consensus here. Vegas Raiders, Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore, home opener after that tough loss last week to Kansas City. I think we're gonna go Baltimore, right? No way
I'm not
Minshew
picking
does
a
it.
Gardner Minshew team to win any games. So
Oh my.
Who's going to score more points, Derrick Henry or the Raiders? I'm taking.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Derrick Henry. Isaiah
Absolutely.
likely will go off for 4 touchdowns.
Hmm.
All right, next game on the list. New Orleans Saints against Dallas Cowboys in the Cowboys home opener.
Yeah, I feel like the Saints could make this a sneaky close game. I mean, I don't know. They beat up on the Panthers pretty bad last week, so maybe I'm just overreacting to them.
I can't take them seriously. They beat a UFL team.
Yeah,
I,
so
I I know they're not that bad.
I'm also just like not completely sold on the Cowboys, even though they also blew out a team last week. But I don't know. I'm just gonna take the Cowboys here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Saints are a terrible team, but the Cowboys just got the talent and they're at
They
home.
they have Derek Carr at quarterback. He's not bad, but he's also Derek Carr.
He
So
has to beat the allegations or people being excited about Spencer Rattler for like 15 minutes. So
Yeah.
you just got to beat the allegations one more time.
well, now he's actually going to play versus an actual NFL defense. So and a pretty good one at that. So
Ooh, this is a very
it's going to be
funny.
both good defenses. So
Yeah. This is a funny matchup because I saw the over-under for this game. Seahawks Patriots in New England, and the over-under is 38. And for an NFL game, that's pretty bad. So Gus, Seahawks Patriots at Gillette, who you got?
Hmm. This one's kind of a toss-up to me. I'm I want to go with the Patriots just because I feel like I haven't taken a lot of underdogs, but again, I feel like I'm probably just overreacting to last week. So I like the Seahawks. I'm a big Geno Smith guy, big Mike McDonald fan. So I'll take the Hawks.
Javal?
Yeah, to me, the biggest thing is both McDonald and Mayo are going to get very creative on defense. They're going to create a lot of havoc. I just trust Geno Smith up more than I trust. I mean, Geno Smith's also from Broward, so have to support him. But I mean, even I think they're both. It's going to be a wacky game because the Seahawks are just the West Coast Jags, where every single game just doesn't make well, win or lose. They had two safeties versus them. That doesn't happen, but the Seahawks somehow still won. So, I mean, they had a close game versus a bad team in the Denver. I think it's probably going to be the same, where the Patriots are going to just bring them to the mud, and the Seahawks are going to just have some dumb mistakes. But I just trust the better quarterback to win this game.
A lot more talent in Seattle side too. I mean, Kenneth Walker, just Smith and Jigba, Tyler Lockett, DK, just some better like weapons. I'll just go for what I know over than, a team that will fight, even though they're not really talented. The Patriots will show some fight, but Seattle seems to be the winner there for me. And to kick off the 4 o'clock slate, there was goddamn so many 1 o'clock games. Holy shit. But Rams and Cardinals in Arizona for our first 4 o'clock game at the slate.
This one's also a toss-up to me, but I'll go with the Cardinals here. I feel like this is maybe a letdown spot for the Rams after, I mean, they did lose last week, but I feel like it was kind of an emotional game with Stafford returning to Detroit again and then losing that game after losing to the Lions last year. And then I don't know, I'm just a fan of the Cardinals. I might be a year too early on them, but I don't know. I've always liked Kyler Murray a lot and always thought he was like a borderline top 10 quarterback. And so I'm glad that he's back healthy. And then even though their coach Mike Mike Gannon, I think it is, he's a little bit of a
Jonathan Gannon.
Jonathan Gannon, thanks. He's a little bit of a meme, but I think he's a good football coach, and so I think the Cardinals could surprise people this season, starting this week.
It's just to me the biggest challenge will be the Rams already banged up to hell offensive line versus the Cardinals defense, which they generated pressure. I think it was 3 or 4% of the time. So this is coughing baby versus another coughing baby. So I'll pick the Rams just kind of to zag, just to be different, because I can see this being a shootout either way. And I mean, as long as Stafford has Cup, he can get some offense. So, but I also do think that from the Cardinals, I think this is probably gonna be the game where they try to just pepper Marvin Harrison with targets. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I see this being Cardinals are just gonna be the shootout team every week where their defense is just really bad. So they're just gonna be in a lot of shootouts, which Kyler will get his stats. So, but I'll pick the Rams.
Yeah, this over under for this game is 48. This is like the easiest like 38-35 type game I think of the entire season. And I think I can't pick against Sean McVay. I know we like Gannon a lot, but I just can't pick against McVay. Let me just get Rams. They played a tough one last week, so I think they rebound here on the road. They can't start 0-2. All right, the prime 425 game for the week is Cincinnati at the Chiefs, rematch of the AFC Championship game for a couple of years ago. Who y'all got?
I don't certainly don't have Joe Burrow, A, with his haircut and B, with his hand problem. Did you guys see the video of him like struggling to pick up a water bottle against the
I
Patriots?
I did
saw that.
not.
Dude,
Did he actually have a video
yeah, he
like
was
that?
like, or like struggle was the wrong word, but like you could tell he was like picking it up like gingerly or like kind of making an effort to just be careful or whatever. And so, yeah, pretty brutal loss against the Patriots last week. So yeah, I certainly don't have high expectations for the Bengals going into Arrowhead, especially with the Chiefs having extra rest. I think the Chiefs could win by about a cajillion this week.
Did you see what can't the corner for Cincinnati said about Xavier Worthy?
Yeah.
That he said that he was just speed and that his plays weren't anything crazy. They just had good blocking, which he's not fully wrong, but because you say that, you know they're gonna get him. They're gonna line him up specifically versus Worthy, and then they're gonna try to cook him. So Bengals always start slow, which just Joe Burrow never has a normal training camp. He's always baked up from training camp, so that leads into that. So yeah, Chiefs by I think it's gonna be at least 2 touchdowns, but comfortable win for the Chiefs.
I think so too. As long as Burrow doesn't show up, I can't see the Bengals having a good chance at all. This is the most brutal 425 game I've ever seen on this slate. Steelers Broncos, and their over unders even worse than the game we talked about before at 36.5 with the Patriots game. Who y'all got? Justin Fields versus Bo Nix. That's a quarterback
I'm
matchup of
so
all
mad it
time.
wasn't Russell Wilson.
You're the only person that wanted Russell Wilson to start. I feel like
That's
everyone.
No,
crazy.
I want Fields to start, but Russell Wilson playing versus the Broncos would have been hilarious.
Oh
That's true.
no, that's fair, yeah.
I got the Steelers in this one just because it's pretty grimy all around, except for the Steelers have, I think, maybe a top 5 defense. And so, like, that's just easily the best unit out of any that are going to be playing on that field. And so I like the Steelers to get a win.
The Steelers are the team that will beat the good teams and then lose to the bad teams that make no sense. This is
Hmm.
just a prime Mike Tomlin. It's really early in the season, so I don't want to. I feel it's not yet, but I could see the Steelers just doing something dumb and the Broncos winning because the Broncos defense did look a lot better than I think a lot of people expected, which helps when you get when you get 2 safeties. So, I'll be for chaos. I'm picking the Broncos because the Steelers are going to have one game where they beat a team that they absolutely shouldn't, and then one game where they lose to a team that they absolutely shouldn't.
Yeah, the Mike Tomlin way forever and ever. I'll go Pittsburgh too. TJ Watt's gonna dominate. I don't know if they'll finally score a touchdown or not, but Pittsburgh gonna win. I can't trust Bo Nix.
Yeah,
I
they'll
I
win.
can't. All right, the Sunday night football game, the Chicago Bears against the Houston Texans.
I like the Texans. I'm all in on the Texans, and the Bears are definitely an ascending team, and I definitely think Caleb Williams is worth all the hype that he's getting. But I feel like Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles are like a little bit overrated at this point, and we might be getting a little bit of ahead of ourselves with the Bears. But again, I don't feel that way about the Texans. Like I'm all the way in on C.J. Stroud and D'Amico Ryans and really the whole roster, and so I like the Texans a lot.
Yeah, if Caleb played better, then I'd be more confident. But the way he played versus Tennessee, just obviously, it's a rookie game, so you can't hate too much. But you see that there's still a lot of work to be done. He just needs to get used to playing as an NFL quarterback and not as a Pac-12 quarterback, and clean up his footwork, not bail out from the pocket as much. So this should be a pretty easy one, but we'll see how everything is. I'm more upset that we don't get Caleb early because literally everybody else in the division faces Caleb weeks 1 through 3, and then I mean it's not the end of the year where he's probably gonna have that rookie bump, but it's close to that midpoint. So, but my guess is Tex.
Honestly, I think week 6 when the Jags play him is like a good spot because like there will be enough time where like there's tape out on
Yeah, that's
him
true.
as a pro in the Bears offense and what they want to do. Because and then it'll still be like it will still only be his 6th career start. Like it'll still be pretty young for him. I actually think like the Titans were probably at a little bit of a disadvantage facing him in week 1 just because they didn't have a lot of tape to go off of.
That's valid. They
Yeah,
still
I
almost won before Mayo Blake Bortles did the.
exactly. Bear down, but I'm not confident enough to pick the Bears to win this game. I think there's just too much weapons on Houston's side of the ball. As unfortunate as it is. But we'll
Yeah.
talk about Houston in a couple weeks' time too, a bit more. But last but not least, Kirk Cousins and the Falcons goes to Lincoln Financial Field to face the Eagles in their home opener. Who y'all got to end week two's picks?
Kirk Cousins in a primetime game at the link. I
I
don't
don't know why does this keep happening to him.
He's
I
just
do
cursed
not like
forever
that
and
at
ever.
all.
It was week 2 either last year or 2 seasons before. Literally Minnesota at Philadelphia, and they just did the same script back again.
Yeah, I think it was last year. But yeah, and I think the Eagles are a much better team. I was pretty impressed by the win over the Packers on Friday night, and then they'll have a little bit of a rest advantage and just yeah,
Saquon and Mashallah, basically. Just give the ball to Saquon.
yeah. Saquon looked incredible, so I'm going with the Birds, the real Birds, not the dirty Birds.
Yeah, I mean, I just have to go with the Eagles because Kirk. I saw a little bit of the game while I was watching the Jets game because I was on the sports bar and they had both games up. Kirk, they just did not move him at all. He was quite literally a statue in the pocket, and I know they're trying to switch it up more under center, but literally it was just if it was under shotgun, then they'd only pass from shotgun, they only ran from pistol. And so if you're gonna be that predictable, that's just gonna make the defense it's very easy for defense to play into it. So Eagles, I think even though I didn't get to watch too much of it, I heard Hurts played a little up and down, but I think as a whole, this is gonna be we're home in front of the crowds. This is gonna be a bad game for Kirk. Again, at Philly, week 2, Monday Night Football. I just feel
Someone
bad for the guy.
please. Well, you don't feel bad for him. I mean, how many big time contracts he's been handed out in his NFL career? You can't feel bad for the guy. It's just he's just unfortunate to be keep playing the Eagles away on prime time. And Philly. I mean, we were all did we even deviate that much? I gotta go look back now to see how much we deviated. But let's see. The only deviations we have, Javal chose Minnesota over the Niners. And I chose the Giants over the Commanders, and then we pretty much no. And
I
Gus
picked
chose the
I picked
Cardinals.
Broncos.
Yeah, you picked Broncos. Gus picked Cardinals over Rams, and that was pretty much it. We only got four deviations
At
this
least we
week.
all had one different one.
Yeah,
That,
we all had one though at least. I just have to choose the Giants, unfortunately. I feel I'm trapped too.
We all agree that the Jags are going to send the dog pound back to Ohio. They send them to Springfield or put them in danger. They're going to be eating the dogs this weekend.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. I can't believe this is the state of politics in 2024. We got one of the P2 candidates saying that we're eating dogs and cats in
I mean,
Ohio,
the
and the
Bengals and
cats will eat the dogs in Jacksonville, Florida on Sunday, and that's all
the
that matters.
the cat team in Ohio lost, and so did the dog team in Ohio. So he was right. They're eating the dogs and the cats up. But Gus, my friend, thank you for entertaining our shenanigans and listening to us, our foolishness. Once again, let the people know where they can find you if they already haven't for some dumb reason.
yeah, just go to Twitter/X at Gus_Logue, Logue. You can find everything I'm doing there. But yeah, it's always a good time. Thanks for having me back, guys.
Oh wait, Miles Garrett was added to Cleveland's injury report and did not practice due to a foot injury.
Oh my
Are
goodness.
you
Get
serious?
all your Browns bets in now.
I just saw because I saw that the Jags injury report they had Savage who did not practice. But if Miles Garrett doesn't practice, then
Oh my God, and it's Thursday.
Savage he can take a day off.
Oh
But
no. Oh no. Him and Zadarius Smith were added. Do not participate. Both of their edges were added to the fucking DNP list today.
Gosh.
What a way to end the podcast.
Back.
So all we talked about the front seven, and then speaking of which, Darnell Savage also did not participate with the quad injury. So there you go.
he'll get his scoop and score from the sidelines. They'll be up so big that he can the I'll play no matter what.
Oh no. Oh dear God. Does that change anything? A little bit, probably, but
I mean, we were already picked the Jags to win, so this doesn't
Yeah.
yeah,
really.
this doesn't change anything. But it's just
If Darnell Savage doesn't play and they don't have Miles Garrett, I think we'll be better off than they are. So, but yeah, I
all
guess
right. What a way to
what
end
a
the
way to end the
podcast.
pod.
Yeah.
Live breaking news, but thank you as always, Gus. We hope that you, hope get to rest before you go back to doing all the wonderful work that you do. Thank you for educating the people. You were telling everybody this offseason about Gabe Davis, and what do you know? He was
What do
right. And it's
Appreciate
all what happens when you listen to somebody who knows ball, but
That's right.
All right, guys. We got 3 days away from our first home game here in Jacksonville. So everybody, I hope you have a good, wonderful rest of your day. Take it easy, y'all.